who doesn't need more scenery? And as soon as I saw these Elven Ruins Gate miniatures on sale, Black Friday sale at Wayland Games, I snapped them up because the first thing that occurred to me was...
Long have I desired to look upon the kings of old, my kin.
Well, I think these are probably more queens of old and probably elves. But first, an unboxing. And so it came in a nice little box, all nicely packaged. I'm sure we can reuse that for something. And they look kind of like, well, actually I'm a bit worried. They look a bit overly futuristic. I thought they looked kind of Trojan, elfish Trojan when I saw them online, but actually they look very spacefaring. But then again, they are fundamentally representing something made out of stone, and so, you know, they could just be elves. Elves are always kind of arty-smarty. Clearly they can act as the gates of Endor, or I don't know, I'm making it up, you know, the gates of something. This one is clearly this one smashed up, which is, you know, fine. Then bases, a bit of sand and a few pebbles. This is just a rock from the garden. I mean, I had to think realistically, you know, a giant rock like that wouldn't have just turned up next to this thing from a collapsed civilization. But then again, I thought it does add something. All these little pebbles as well, of course, normal sand, budgie sand. The bases are pretty good, and I'm so excited that I found some use for them because on eBay I bought some kind of group squad bases where you where there was a second layer like this with the kind of sabot base area for each one, and there was two of these attached, and they looked so naff. But actually, if I just ripped off the useless bit at the top, it left me with some quite useful little terrain bases. And I think people do sell on eBay kind of unusually cut terrain bases, and I mean, normally for that I would go for 2mm rather than 3mm, but you know, it is what it is, and if you paint the side brown, I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine. Or even black, because it is basically a kind of scenario piece. There's plenty of games where, you know, you've got to get your faction off between the gates of the goddess Ishtar, or whatever these things are. And just for a sense of scale, they are pretty big. I love Hobbycraft. No science really to how I did it. I just took, well, I undercoated them with Halford's grey undercoat primer, which is designed for cars. So, you know, normally you're supposed to scrub resin with soap to get rid of any removing agent, which sometimes makes the paint flake off. But I find with this Halford spray, which is designed for cars, you don't really need that. It really adheres to the surface of the resin. And then I gave it a wash with Nuln oil. Oops. And then I just mixed together Astronomican Grey and Battle Dress Grey. I don't know if these are available anymore. And dry brushed, and then added a bit of white, and then gave a final dry brush. So we're talking just 2 or 3 layers of gentle dry brushing. And I mean, I'm not no expert in weathering, that the Nuln oil the Nuln oil had gone a little bit into the recesses, but not particularly. But I thought I would just leave it. But then I took a little bit of this cromlech dark dirt, and I mixed together a little bit of wood glue very thinly with a lot of water, so it was very, not very much of it at all, and I put it down into a few of the recesses, including between the lips there, and then I got a paintbrush and I just ladled on some of this dark dirt stuff, wearing a mask because I'm sure the fine powder is probably not very good for your lungs, and then just dusted it around. The only thing is sometimes, as you can see here, it mixed in and kind of became a bit muddy, which is not a terrible result for this. And actually, possibly, maybe that's what you're supposed to do, because otherwise, I suppose, you know, it can't be expected to remain a powder. And the earth, the ground, I always use flat earth over here from Vallejo, or Vallejo, I don't know. Vallejo, tierra mate. Okay, it's probably Vallejo. So I use that. It's a good flat earth colour. And then mix in a little bit of that, and then dry brush with that. And then came the fun, hours of fun, with various kinds of clump foliage. And I had a few of those flowers left. Got them from Warlord Games, can't remember who manufactures them. And the rocks, you can see, I painted a slightly bluish. I added a teeny bit of blue, or one of the grey-blue Space Wolf grey or something, to the greys, just because I thought, wouldn't it look good if, it'd look a bit odd if the rocks are exactly the same colour as the statue. And again, it gives you a sense that the statues have been dragged from somewhere else, which is quite fun. Now all I need is an appropriately gigantic water feature. Thanks for watching to the end, and by all means leave me a comment if you have any interesting thoughts on better or different weathering techniques for statues like this, and please subscribe and see what else there is in the pipeline.